soon.
We're right into Champs League now, so Dial's on the blue side here for this game. Chiefs over on the red in this best of one, and Dials don't mess around. Ari banned out first there, now going to join them, and Chiefs actually going to ban Hecarim away from, I think, Perfection, actually.
It must be a Perfection ban. Perfection used to love playing the jungle Hecarim. I'm sure he's picked up the top Hecarim. Very powerful on this patch, now that they've buffed his minion healing cap. He's very good in the top lane. Even the jungle he has to be feared as well. We saw some teams in the LPL starting to bring that out. The flex pick, ban it away.
Yeah, Azir there banned out as well. Another strong champion that would suit Sharp here. Sion, the last ban there from Direwolves, and Chiefs going to go with Kassadin. So we'll leave the Xerath open if Direwolves want it.
The highlighting Morgana here, of course, we've seen a lot of Morgana come out from Rosie, but in general, there's a lot of meta picks that are available, and Lissandra is available. There's big champions across the board, and the first lock-in is the Morgana.
That's a very curious first pick there by Direwolves, and I mean, that could be support. It could technically lane there as well, either in mid or in some rare cases the top lane, but that's a very clear open pick for Chuffer. Pairing with Kalista, I like that pairing as well, but that tells you something about how the Direwolves are approaching this draft.
And we have to mention, it was a really fast ban phase. I feel like Direwolves knew what they were looking for, and I hope this means they have a pre-prepared comp with this first pick Morgana.
Well, the response has been maybe a little different there as well. Chiefs not going to take anything particularly massive, but still some strong champions. Jarvan there for Spooks in the jungle, one of his comfort picks there. And Swipe are going to take one of his best champions outside of that tournament. It's his Aurelia, which is very good at pushing people around in lanes. That's what Swiper loves to do.
An excellent front line locked in. Top lane and jungle, you'd have to think already ironed up. No reason to expect that those will be swapped around. Already you kind of want to move away from a hyper carry. Maybe you want to go straight to the Corki here just because you know that there's already plenty of gap close and CC coming out of those first two picks from the Chiefs.
Yeah, and we've seen Kalista be such a prominent pick, slowly rising in that pick order as well. Already, as you presented, Chiefs kind of giving them problems with that front line, so wouldn't be too surprised to see if Direwolves don't want to go with it, but if they do pick it up, which King does want, it pairs wonderfully with the Morgana, and they're going to get Rek'Sai for the jungle as well.
It's worth noting now, because they've already shown Aurelia, they don't have necessarily the potential of a double AP, so there might be only one magic damage source. Depending on who that is, if they can keep the Black Shield up on Sharp, it might be a decent combination, but you have to respect Aurelia and Jarvan. They can do so much work against Kalista. She can potentially hop out of the Cataclysm, but there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of ifs about this team comp so far.
I mean, for me, if Direwolves King here is kind of this rising star, he had one hell of a breakout performance last weekend, just crushing the CS scores and GPM for the first week of OPL. If they want him to carry, and he's set up to look like a very strong player for this team, Kalista's the perfect sort of champion for a big hyper carry-esque player.
So I guess my question is, do they go commit fully to that Protect the Kalista comp? Do we see the Lulu mids of the world? Because they'll probably have to blind pick mid, given that they're on the blue side. Ari's not available, so they don't have the most safe mid laner. If they just want to go safe, they don't want to be fooled, might be the Lulu coming out, just to augment that Kalista that little bit more.
Yeah, and Chiefs instead really want to battle in their bottom lane. Corki picked up for Raider, one of his best champions, and here I love this pick from Rosie. It's not just a comfort pick, Annie, it also blocks it away from Chuffer.
Yeah, and look, it's a single source of magic damage. It's a great source for popping that Black Shield. You have to say, still very high base magic damages coming out of those ability on Annie. She wants to get all up in the face of Kalista.
Yeah, and I love this as well. Dial, I've seen them giving a shout out to their managers every now and then. That was a very old school Rippy champion there in Rammus, but of course with the Rek'Sai, unlikely to see that come through. But Dial's going to consider their last few drafts. You mentioned it's going to be blind pick mid lane. Chiefs intelligently going to leave that counter pick to Swiffer, but Dials might be doing something very creative here. We'll give them some time.
I'm going to say it's probably not going to be a blind pick Karthus. That just sounds like a sad day. You could even pull out the Twisted Fate against that Karthus, another one of Swiffer's kind of deeper cuts of his champion pool. With the bans being left, there's so many champions available. Look at this, though.
Well, Rumble Leona has been the pickups here, so it is going to be a laning Morgana. You asked me, do I think they're going to go all in on Kalista? I think that's very close to doing so.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much peel available. With the AP being added up, of course, decent AP scale on that Black Shield. Maybe won't be able to pop it with the Annie pickup that we've already seen. Very, very safe mid laner. This basically opens up any mid lane choice for the Chiefs. Why we saw Morgana fall out of the meta, and that's why I mentioned it before. If you can pick anything, why not go for something, a big playmaking champion like Chiefs, Swiffers, Twisted Fate.
10 points to Papa Smithy this evening. Twisted Fate has been locked in here for Swiffer. And if there's a champion that the Chiefs love to play and snowball with, it is that one in the mid lane right there. You said it's a deep cut for Swiffer. Been a little while since he's played it, but he is no slouch from the Cardmaster.
And one of the big reasons that Morgana fell away as a meta pick is that, okay, she can stack the AP. Okay, you can get that big AoE ultimate on. The damage falls away a little bit in the late game, but the big deal is that you can play anything against Morgana. She can only harass you with that very long range Dark Binding. If if you're fleet of foot, your flash is up, you can play the Vegas of the world, you can play the Twisted Fates of the world, and you don't have to worry about really being pressured. So blind picking a low pressure lane like Morgana has opened up this Twisted Fate pick. We've actually seen a Twisted Fate already in the OPL from Kensti. Struggled a little bit there. If anyone's going to lead the OPL with Twisted Fate, I'm going to give it to Swiffer.
Yeah, and it's been one hell of a draft. We'd love to know your thoughts on who you think is going to win here as well. So get on Twitter and use those hashtags DWWin for Direwolves or CHF win for the Chiefs. And this is going to be a close one as far as what the public thinks, because both these drafts look very solid. Both teams seem to have it under control. What's your thoughts, Papa, in the initial pick here? Who do you think won the draft?
Oh, it's a really hard thing to call. I really do like the Corky Annie lane in the bottom lane coming out of the Chiefs. Twisted Fate games, they go one of two ways. The first use of the Destiny comes in, they get a big double kill, and it's so hard to catch up to the global pressure Twisted Fate can put up. It really gives that kind of inherent buff. Like if there was a buff bar at the bottom for your jungle, it'd say, go ham, because you can always know that you're going to have a pocket Twisted Fate rotating first to any fights in the enemy jungle across the map with that global ultimate. And look, Spooks and Swiffer, the old school duo on previous teams on the Chiefs, they've been together, they're good at laning together. I have to give it to the Chiefs, but again, so much can change 7-8 minutes into the game with that big Destiny.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned that, Twisted Fate, very snowbally sort of champion there from the mid lane. The Chiefs, for me, when they started coming up, they had a bit of a slump in the last year. Didn't win nearly as much as they used to. When they started kind of getting that synergy together and becoming a stronger team, it was because of a lot of Twisted Fate play. They would play together because the thing with TF is it's a whole team effort. You can't just carry from a lane on TF. You have to let everybody win with that champion. If you don't play together as TF, everything falls apart very quickly. And if anything's from the last game there, Chiefs need to tighten up that early game. So it's almost risky that they're picking into Direwolves, who are the early game team.
Absolutely. I mean, Twisted Fate, I think it's always the settled lineups that kind of come back to Twisted Fate, because you need to know the limits of that champion. The communication needs to be on point, because if you faceplant with that first ultimate, his laning's not that great. He's very squishy. He can be exploited, so it's a very risky pick. There's a reason why World Elite was so famous with their settled lineup. Messiah could pick World Elite, could pick the Twisted Fate, and everyone knew on that team what to expect, what the limits were, the timings. The Chiefs have been together for a very long time, not changing their lineup despite their lack of success last year. They're going to need to trade on all that experience if they want to make the Twisted Fate work, because there's a lot of setup, there's a lot of ifs when it comes to Twisted Fate, and if it's undone, it just doesn't offer very much.
Yeah, and over on the other side there as well, we talked about King getting enabled in this draft with the Kalista pick. Just kind of thinking about it a little bit more, this composition, is there anything sexier than a Rumble Equalizer with Kalista running wild?
I mean, the Rumble Ultimate, the Equalizer and the Soul Shackles already, if that comes through, the 1.5 second stun, it's going to be massive AoE damage, but kind of what strikes me is they've committed to the Leona picks. They've committed to the Wombo Engage. The only disengage tool they really have is the Black Shield. So if she uses that for Engage, if they need that Black Shield for Sharp to get into the middle of the team, Flash Zhonya's isn't a realistic option. There's just no disengage whatsoever, or no real enablers for that Kalista. Kalista could really struggle here, depending on how strong the dive combo of Swiper and Spooks' Jarvan and Aurelia gets. So there's a lot of ifs and buts, and that's the exciting thing. If Twisted Fate goes off, Chiefs look good. If Morgana gets big in the early game and can really get in there and influence fights, and Kalista can clean up at the back, the Direwolves look great too. That's why two top teams coming together on the Rift, it's going to be great.
I'm going to tell you a secret, Papa Smithy.
I'm listening.
I think the Direwolves comp only goes in one direction, and it is fast and forward. This isn't a comp where you play Kalista and try and get your front line in there and slowly weave around the team fight. This is push everyone in there, blow all the ultis, and hope Kalista's there to play janitor duty.
It's almost like old Tristana. If you get everyone to low levels, Tristana gets her mobility back from the rocket jump. It's not quite the same thing here. They're looking for that late game reset. We might almost see the AP Master Yi play style with this Kalista show up very late to the fight when everyone's health and CC is down and try and get the cleanup. But it's so hard to pull off, because one fight, okay, it works, but the next fight, you're setting up so many variables. I mean, I've said it already a few times today. The amount of variables on the winning team pulling out ahead in a fight massive this game.
Yeah, and it's funny as well that we sort of highlighted the mid lane. They're kind of playing fairly non-interactive mid laners against each other, but how they play their team fights with their other teammates is key here. Swiffer wants to get in and influence those lanes, and Sharp really wants to get in and influence the team fights.
Yeah, I mean, Morgana, she's going to have to be really on the ball with the roaming, with the communication, getting the early wards in aggressively to spot that first Destiny. 7 minutes. When that first Destiny comes down, I feel like we'll have a good idea of who's going to win this game.
Well, we'll have to see, because we are onto the Rift here for this game here. Direwolves and Chiefs, one of the biggest hits here in the OPL so far. It's early on, but this game is unbelievably big. Two Titans of the OPL are going to go head-to-head here, and it's only a best of one, Papa Smith. The only one team can claim victory today.
And with that win over Fortnite, Chiefs come in strong with a 3-0, but the Direwolves, they've only played 2. They looked convincing in both those games, and the Chiefs, they've had their struggles against the likes of Sudden Fear and now Fortnite.
Yeah, important to remember that this isn't just a battle for, pride or standings. It's also a battle to be the only undefeated team left in the OPL, and that is a big deal now as well. And Dial's going to get aggressive early on, looking towards the red buff.
They've been spotted by a ward, though, so they are aware of what's coming out. It'll be interesting to see what the counter-invade for Vision is from the Chiefs.
We'll have to see. Here looks like some wards just going down. Swiper, I think, knows what's going on. Might have spotted someone walking through, but the wards are pretty shallow here for the Chiefs, actually. But looks like Dials might walk past the one near the Raptor camp, so they'll have some vision here, and Chiefs probably know that, hey, this side of the jungle's been warded.
Yeah, Swiper so far has not been spotted out by a ward. He rushed straight to the top lane, wasn't grouped with his lineup, so they do not know his movements on the map. So right now, at least, a vision advantage, you'd have to say, is with the Chiefs.
I mean, yeah, they've gotten the deep wards. It's funny, actually, both teams have basically invaded the same side and gotten the same deep wards, so lots of knowledge on the red side of the jungles here, but they're both very intelligently going to start on the blue.
Yeah, as we see the Dragon starting, let's say the Gromp starting here for Spooks, and the mid lane, just some passive farming between these two laners.
Yep, it's going to hang out here. Swiffer and Sharp will break out into their lane as well. Our featured matchup for today, Twisted Fate versus Morgana. Unfortunately for the viewers at home, might be quite a lot of farming in this one.
It feels like something out of 2012 there, Pastry Time. This Twisted Fate Morgana mid matchup. We've seen more Morgana top and support significantly in the last few years. The Morgana support, with the Morgana top only recently becoming a thing. Swift is going very aggressively here, knowing that the only thing skilled up is the pool looking to push these minion waves in.
Yeah, and again, lots of good early pushing coming through for the wild cards and Tormented Soil for Twisted Fate and Morgana respectively. So they're going to really tussle in the short wave to keep these waves trimmed. And right now in the early levels, Sharp's getting ahead.
And in bottom lane, we're seeing just the harass coming in. Corky's going to try and prey upon this Kalista in early levels, try and win trades. In top lane, it's going to be a very even battle until about level 7 to 8 as Irelia starts to really scale up in levels.
Yeah, kind of a cute little stun there by Swiper. Made sure Perfection wasn't facing the right way for Flamespitter, but this matchup, kind of like you mentioned, Bubba, just feels like it has a whole lot of play to it. If there's a top lane skill matchup, this might be it.
Yeah, the peaks and troughs of this matchup, level 4, you give it to Perfection on the Rumble when he gets 2 points in the Flamespitter. As you get more levels in either the Equilibrium Strike or the Hit 10 style, then it starts to go towards Irelia in the matchups. It's so even, but it's only really the junglers that kind of influence the flavor.
Yeah, we've got some different junglers here as well. Spook's on the job and a bit more aggressive if he wants it, but looks like both junglers have done a relatively quick clear. Spook does have his Trailblazer now. Soul Strike's probably going to go do the same here, and we could see actually maybe a battle for control jungling here.
There's a lot of control jungling coming out of Soul Strikes. I mean, Jarvan can have the same flavor, but that's usually trading on some early successful ganks, kind of getting him over-leveled and scaring away the enemy jungler. Yep. Soul Strikes are the first to pick up this the Scuttle Crab, though, as he starts to try and get a little bit of income coming in.
I really like this play. Taking the Scuttle Crab, one of those maybe underrated neutral objectives, because he is in the neutral zone in the river there, so kind of tunneling over the Dragon Pit, able to sneak that away. Very adorable stuff there from the Direwolves jungler.
But Spooks, we can see so aggressively positioned in the top. Looking for Perfection.
Yes, Swiper's already gone in there. He's going to get it started. Perfection now knows what's up. Good flash out from the Rumble, but Spooks get a flash for the red buff auto as well. Slows him down with the Golden Nader. Swiper dives back into Perfection. No help forthcoming here. Mid lane is actually backed off. He's going to go on a wild goose chase. He's probably just going to try and buy as much time as he can, but Spooks nails the next knock up, and first blood will go to Swiper.
Yeah, they made sure to give it to the top lane. Spooks could have taken it away, but no reason to. Of course, Twisted Fate would have been the first person to react to that skirmish. No chance for life for Perfection. And great jungle pathing coming out from Spooks to get a gank in so early.
Really nice stuff. Swiffer actually taking cannon creep aggro to get aggressive onto Sharp. We talk about Swiffer being an aggressive player. That was very aggressive.
And he has the Ghost Flash summoner spells. Of course, mobility is so important to get the second, the third gold card off in a fight. He's obviously not respecting the jungle pressure from Soul Strikes too much this early.
No, and not really respecting kill pressure in the mid lane either, because let's face it, Shop pretty much just going to farm up as best he can and look to influence some early dragon fights there as well. So Swiffer going to go for the first back. He does have a Dawn Druid, picks up something else. He's biding his time in the shop.
Let's have a look at the gold verse. Sitting on 1,300 gold, so it could be a very fast Sheen. I mean, you never really know with these Twisted Fate builds. He's back in the mid lane, just clearing waves.
He tricked me.
He tricked you.
He didn't actually recall that. Cancel that. It's going to continue farming up as we move towards the bottom for the first time here. King looking very strong early on against OCE's finest. King's actually up 10 CS and counting now on Kalista.
Yeah, I mean, Corki, you'd expect him to be trying to trade very early and get the auto attack Q harass in that he's so well known for. But King's been controlling this wave excellently. He's actually been forced to hang back. Now Soul Strike shows his head, increases the amount of pressure coming out onto Radia. He's very much been forced on the back foot.
That's kind of what I love about the Morgana flex pick and Dial's draft as well. Taking Leona into Annie must feel so comfortable for Chuffer.
Absolutely. In a 2v2, you'd always fancy the Leona Kalista lane just because Annie she doesn't have the base stats to deal with all the CC and engage, and you can always change targets if you go on the Annie first. So more options available for the Leona in this particular lane matchup.
Yes, the King off to a good start. Actually went back, got a quick Ruka, but Perfection Swiper going to battle once again, and Swiper with the early fade really sticking it to Rumble.
Yeah, Perfection's definitely in a bit of a trough here. I would have liked him at level 5 usually, but because of the item disadvantage, he just can't stand up to Aurelio, and that you have to feel that as this laning phase increases and Swiper gets closer and closer to his Trinity Force, that gap should only increase.
Yeah, such a smart gank from Spooks early on to influence that lane and give Swiper just a little bit of wiggle room he needed to really try and take over this matchup. When we talk about Swiper as a player, this is what he loves to do, really bully the enemy laner, just outplay them 1v1.
Perfection's actually the first to hit 6 because, of course, Spooks was eating some of that minion experience in the top lane. Still doesn't give him much of an advantage. You might even have to use it to push out and buy his defensive item as Swiper's going in.
Swiper's going really far in. Transcendent Blade's going to go in and Swiper cleans up. Well, such an easy kill.
A solo kill coming on to Perfection. After his heroic performances last week, you have to be surprised, but he's just not respecting the power spike that Swiper's been able to buy with that early fade.
Yeah, and we rarely see a solo kill at this level of play, but very strong stuff by Swiper. And it's funny, we didn't really talk about it with the mid lane matchup being such a focus, but Perfection Swiper is really the battle of OC's carry top laners.
And look, the carry pants are definitely on Swiper now, 2-0-0 with that early pickup of the Seeker's Arm guy. It doesn't really help Perfection against Aurelia, whether he opts into maxing W, because of course true damage going through the armor, or maxing the Equilibrium Strike, which has been the move in the meta recently. It does magic damage. It just doesn't give many options to Perfection.
Yeah, just for reference, Swiper is going to max that Heat and style here in this lane, so going to opt for, as you sort of said, two very good options. Takes the one I guess he's a bit more comfortable with. Coming back now, Dagger that he's just picked up, plus some boots, so going to move towards that Zeal, and as you said, a reasonably quick Trinity Force. Swiffer also going to get the blue buff there as well, and Morella not going to assist choice, so unsurprisingly for Swiffer, he's going to get aggressive.
Obviously, probably over 30% CDR already now with the blue buff, so there could be plenty of gank pressure coming into the side lanes. You have to be very careful. Actually, clicking through 36.35, so close to 40% CDR already is this Twisted Fate.
Might be some runes at work there as well, but very strong early on for Swiffer and Spook. Hanging out around the red buff. They could actually go in here if they wanted to. Swiffer going to wander over, but the blue looks to go down pretty early here. Spooks might try and steal it, but Sharp does secure it, and Spooks, unfortunately, not going to steal it this time.
That's actually a big thing for Direwolves you have to consider, is that Swiffer would always have been able to react to an invade. Aurelia is so far on top of Perfection. Realistically, that should have been Chief's blue buff.
Yeah, and actually Spooks is going to get initiated on. Good binding hitting there as well. Perfection coming into the perfect time. Sharp nails him, and Soul Strike gets the kill.
Just mentioned they should have been the ones to make the aggressive rotation, now caught in rotation by the Direwolves. Some of the communication and at least the play calling from the Chiefs letting them down again.
Yeah, again, the early game not that tight, but looks like Swiffer is going to go into the top. Perfection does put a great equalizer down, but Swiper going to get another kill in lane.
Yeah, Twisted Fate, he can cause these situations with the gold card, already 2 points in that W, and now able to walk happily to mid, and the cooldown, it's very high at the first level, but so close to 40% CDR. The first Destiny, we called it early game, goes excellently for the Chiefs.
Yeah, great stuff there, and I was going to wonder with all the pressure towards the top, how's Rady doing? But he's actually caught up very nicely on CS, and that was with Rosie roaming mid lane to cover up against Sharp. So Rady was definitely falling behind early on against King. You think with the recurve bow and those daggers might be getting pushed in more, but returning back now, got his sheen, got the parts of his face, looking very comfy once again on Corki.
Yeah, look, Radius Corki is completely intertwined with the mustached man on the Corki. He's played it for so many metas through all the changes, and he always looks the same. He's very, very solid in that champion.
Yeah, Soul Strike's in towards the top side of the map now. Is all going to look for a gank. Swiper might be playing with a bit of confidence right now, given that he's got 3 kills already. In fact, all of Chief's kills are onto this Aurelia. So Perfection maybe going to look to bait him in, but Swiper playing pretty carefully.
He needs to, as Perfection has Soul Strikes in his back pocket.
Not carefully enough, though. Perfection now going to get died on, but Soul Strike coming through now as well. Rek'Sai puts the smite down. Swiper nowhere to go. Pops his ulti. There might be enough life steal, but the Flame Spitter far too much. No, he flashes over the wall, but gets nailed by a Prey Seeker.
The artillery Prey Seeker coming out, max range, and then of course the ultimate activate. He's already in bot lane.
Really good reactions here from Soul Strikes as well, coming down to contest this Dragon Chiefs. They wanted to get it. Swiffer is going to rotate down as well. This will be actually a 3v5. I don't know if Dials can contest here. So good pressure by Chiefs and a good thought by Soul Strikes, but first Dragon goes to the Chiefs.
Yeah, credit to Soul Strikes for at least trying to contest that objective. They at least have an aggressive and correct timer, but Swiffer's eating a binding.
Yeah, actually we get down there and the Soul Strikes coming through as well. Swiffer got to be in trouble. Ghost not enough to get him out of that, and Swiffer going to keep fighting. Does get the stun. Wildcard's on it there as well. He might be alive, but Sharp gets him with the Tormented Soil.
Swiffer, at least on my monitor, still has Flash available, so poor use of Summoners, and Spooks comes and avenges his mate's death.
Yep, Michael driving in for the dunk and gets the kill with the ulti. So Spooks, good rotation in, but couldn't unfortunately save his mid laner's life. We talk about for so long that those two were intertwined. Spooks a little late on that party.
Yeah, a little late, but he still picks up the big K. He gets the kill there, so he's happy.
Gets the K. Here is King down the bottom, still pushing in now. 10 CS also ahead of this Corki, so very comfortable. And that Hurricane is coming at a fast clip here for the Direwolves bottom lane. So you have to think until that Trinity Force is done, Rady going to look to struggle a bit in this lane.
And one of the issues for the Direwolves is that Perfection did not pick up the kill credit for the kill on top, so he's no closer to closing down the gap that Swiper's already open in this lane. Realistically, once the minion wave pushes out towards the middle or towards Chiefs, the Chiefs side top turret, not much that Perfection can do to stay in this lane, barring trying to push it with his ultimate.
And just staying in the top for a second, I'm actually very curious what you think about Swiper's component path here, because he's obviously going for Trinity Force, but he's opted for Zeal second instead of Shen.
I mean, it's all the movement speed parts of the Trinity Force. It's all about sticking. I mean, traditionally it's been the Equilibrium Strike max on these Aurelias, just for some burst trades and then being able to move away. But with the hit 10 style max and the Zeal choice, we can see some of the damage coming through right now.
Soul Strike doesn't like it this time. Swiffer goes in very deep with the TFO. Good ulti once again by Perfection, but Soul Strikes and Perfection low. Swiper though lowers off Perfection. Turns it around. There's the first kill for Perfection. Gonna chase him down. Swiffer has Rover for Perfection. Overloaded. Gold card comes a little late, and Rumble gets the double.
There was actually a really big mistake there mechanically from Swiffer. On coming in, the Gold card auto-targeted the full health Soul Strikes on the Rek'Sai. They could not DPS down Perfection at the start, and you could tell with that ending exchange how much different that fight would have gone.
A rare mechanical error there for Swiffer. And comes in with a decent ulti, but now Rek'Sai going to come through the bottom. Chopper nails Rady with a Q though, and now King going to come in. Rosie tries to bury him, but King's flashed down. Now they're going to move in. Soul Strikes down as well, but Spooks coming in to join the party. King's going to get dunked, and Spooks gets that kill, gets knocked up as well, but it's not enough to stun there under Soul Strikes. Might be enough damage. Frost Bomb, Rady with another kill. Chiefs 2-0 in the 3v3.
Yeah, after losing the 1-for-2, they get the big 2-for-1 in the bottom lane. Very nice play, and it's the movement across the map from Spooks. The pathing was excellent for him there, able to get into the bottom, kill off King, and Soul Strikes, he was eating the fury of 3 Chiefs members.
Yeah, once upon another team, we might have just looked at Swiffer and Spooks and said, man, these guys are all this team's got, but the Chiefs are a full 5-man wrecking crew, and you can see it now. It's been a while, but this highlight has to be the synergies back here for the jungle mid lane. Spooks and Swiffer in tandem, ganking every single lane.
And look, the synergy never left. It's just Spooks tried to relieve pressure from other lanes. It was so binary. You always knew as an enemy team, all right, Spooks is going to set up a camp in mid lane. We just have to play defensively, farm it out, and our other lanes can be the focus. But in varying up that strategy, it's opened up more strategic options for the Chiefs. But hey, if it works, why not return to it once in a while, especially in a big, tough match like this?
I mean, with the Twisted Fate comp, Chiefs can afford to be everywhere, and they have. And I have to credit Soul Strikes a bit here. He's done very well to keep up with all this pressure with the Rek'Sai ulti, but it's just not the same as the Twisted Fate.
I mean, the credit needs to go to Perfection as well. I didn't even realize it, but he's actually 15 CS ahead of Swiper, despite the fact that he realistically should never be allowed to get over halfway across the map. With the amount of combat stats we see on the Aurelia. Actually, Swiper scared of the damage trades at this point.
I mean, Rosie actually has roamed up towards the top. No flash, though. Now the ulti going to come through there. Find Soul Strikes. Do they want to recommit? Swiffer wants it. You have to think he's running up. They're going in. But Perfection this time. The Scrap Shield does get him out, and that actually should be okay there. Swiffer not can't afford to dive.
Yeah, he just opts into doing that, knowing that Morgana doesn't have a lot of pressure in terms of pushing the mid lane. Although she has a lot of wave clear Morgana, it takes multiple ticks of the Tormented Soil to be able to push the lane. And of course, maxing out the Dark Binding for a bit of kill pressure instead, it means that she can't really punish the global roams coming out of Swiffer.
And that's part of what makes the Twisted Fate pick here by Chief so ingenious. There's just nothing more can really do to pressure Swiffer, and he's freely roaming mostly to the top lane to just influence wherever he can. And now that Raider down in the bottom has finished up his Trinity Force, Rosie's left that lane multiple times.
Yeah, Rosie's able to gallop across the map happily just because whenever they force a skirmish, they have excellent pick power coming out of Jarvan and Annie, and then Twisted Fate in the back pocket. That's why I talked about the buff bar. You can be so confident as a roaming support or as an engaged jungler when you have Twisted Fate Ultimate available, because you know it's never that situation where, oh, I don't know if my mid lane will rotate first. Twisted Fate always rotates first.
Yeah, and Spooks here moving through his own jungle, doing some rotations here. Got a Sightstone actually, so unsurprisingly for Spooks, who does favor a lot of Sightstone junglers, but trying to get that utility and keep the deep vision up, and Chiefs in general not doing the best job. Dialves actually have excellent defensive pink wards.
But the power spikes are definitely on here for Chiefs. Double Trinity Force instantly completed at the 16-minute mark. Good clip for them both to have that item available, and with Dragon spawning in 30 seconds, it's going to be very, very difficult, even with Rumble, whose CS12 has a Zhonya's, doesn't have any magic penetration at all. You don't see this build very often, but he can dive the backline very well with this Zhonya's pickup.
Yeah, Perfection going for the Brawl build almost on Rumble, level 11 now as well, so a big power up there for the Direwolves top lane, who, if they're going to contest this, they are definitely going to look towards the top side. Teleports are up as well, so we might see the top lane start to move down. Spooks actually trying to steal it away, does get the first one, but now Radiant going down the bottom, they're going to spot out King. He takes so much damage, and Radiant going to claim that kill. Rosie moves in, Timbers onto Chopper, he looks to go down now as well. Perfection's coming down, that's a great equalizer, and Swift is very low, but Radiant going to pop the heal. Spooks going to come in and force the flash.
Yeah, the equalizer was wonderful, and the fight's still on.
Yeah, Binding there, landing on the Swiper. Spooks trying to dive back in, he flashes out, he's trying to save his teammates. Beautiful play, cutting them off. Radiant on a rampage, gets Rumble down as well. Soul Strikes answers back, and it's actually 2 for 2 across the map.
Yeah, Perfection dies with his Zhonya's available, not respecting the massive burst damage coming out of the Trinity Force Phosphorus Bomb combo, but they aren't able to pick up the Dragon. That's the significant thing. Actually harassing 2 members out of backing. Dio was going to rush and try and take this Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, they might just take it here with a timing window, or at least deny it there from Chiefs. In fact, Soul Strike wants to go in. He's already popping the ult. He's going to tunnel out under the Dragon and start it up. Chiefs do have vision, so they know what's going on, but Swiffer with no ulti and the rest of Chiefs back in base, going to be a tricky contest.
There's not a lot of DPS available. Rosie was actually thinking about going in and trying to buy some time, realizes it's not going to be possible, and the Dragon will come in for Direwolves.
Yeah, and looks like Dragon actually looking very good. That's 1 apiece now. I was just trying to check the Dragon counter. So Chiefs with the first one. Direwolves going to answer back. And we've talked a little bit about with Direwolves where their Dragon controls sometimes look a bit sloppy. So they're going to be very happy to have that first one.
Yeah, I mean, Direwolves have really struggled on the Dragon counts. They've been either even or behind in their 2 wins. They haven't been putting a lot of priority on that objective. And you can kind of tell that flavor when they build for lane. Look at Perfection. One thing you can say about the Zhonya's rush is that Flat AP gives a bit of lane pushing. Swiper might even go for the dive here, though.
Yeah, he's actually going in a lot of damage here. Swiper might think about a Perfection, throws out the flint spitter. He's no joke on the damage front either. And this carry top lane is really brawling head-to-head.
Yeah, the double magic penetration is all about getting the big equalizer at team fights. That's why you go for it, but it doesn't give you much minion wave control. Picking up the zone is getting a bit more flat AP, makes you competitive in wave control. He's done an excellent job of CS, only now falling behind, and allows him to dive the backline. So I like that pickup. And you can almost think of this as a bonus Dragon for Direwolves because they haven't built to be able to contest Dragon. So excellent work from Sharp, harassing the recalls and opening up that objective.
Yeah, really nice stuff. But Swiper does claim the top lane turret there, Chiefs. Actually 2-0 up now in turrets to the Direwolves. Struggling a little bit to get their siege going. We saw the mid tower getting taken down there as well. But Swiper's going to dive in. Soul Strike is here though once again. Smites out onto him. Perfection going to move in. But Swiffer wants to make the difference. Equalizer again. Pops the donors, but they're going to walk around it. Soul Strike's going to take a lot of damage, but knock up onto Swiper might make it tricky. Damage going to come in. Soul Strike's going to get shredded. Spooks is here as well. Charm's also rotated in the Cataclysm. Going to get down. Spooks is taking an unbelievable amount of damage. But Rosie comes in with the flank, throws down the Timbers, and Spooks gets a triple kill.
Yeah, the flash Timbers was so massive. They're opening up the triple kill from Spooks. They don't have an Aegis, but they're still able to move away from that equalizer, do wonderful work, pick up an extra objective in this turret. things going well for the Chiefs.
And this anime, Romsey is on display today, walking all the way over the map, and let's see that again.
So I like the attempt here, but you watch the minimap, they still have vision on Morgana coming in. That's why they start to disengage, but re-engage when Rosie gets in position. Just wait for this flash, Tibbers. Wonderful work. It looked like Perfection might be able to turn around this fight, but the surprise Tibbers wins it for the Chiefs.
Surprise bears. I mean, that's basically Rosie just drop bear Direwolves, which is not good at all.
Bit of Oceanic flavor with that play.
It's rated down the bottom now as well. Looking towards a BT, you have to think with that BF sword accompanying that Trinity Force, and King still looking to power up. We see this a lot with Callista, but the Hurricane, it's a great first item, but it really just is a transition item into what usually comes a lifesteal item, probably the Bloodthirster of her own.
Yeah, and definitely needs Chuffer in there to start proccing that passive and getting a bit of dueling threat going. But I mean, at the moment, he's already 1,700 in the gold in the hole against Radia, who's already got the mid-game advantage on this Corki. He's not really able to lane against the Corki in bottom lane.
No, but despite all that, King's actually kept up in CS, and one of the biggest things we took away from Dial's AD carry last week was that he's just a CS master. He seems to get almost all the creep, so, you know, struggling a bit here to reach some of the records he was approaching in week 1, but still looking very competitive against what's now a very tough lane.
Yeah, but he'll need to start grouping soon and foregoing some of that lane farm because his team needs him. We see that the constituent parts are in the advantage, and Swiffer 1, 2, and 7. Okay, the score is not wonderful, but the kill participation is high, and the Destinies have been making plays across the map.
Yeah, and you saw the Destinies. Swiffer has a build more handsome than the man himself. Rabadon's Death Cap for some flat AP, and the Distortion Sorcerer's Shoes. Papa Smithy, I'm so happy.
He's just not a big fan of the whole Zonya's untargetability. No Messiah players coming here, just brute force. He's happy to die if it lets the other members, and we see even the damage from Spooks has been relevant in fights. He's got plenty of other damage dealers, so just go for the initiation plays.
Yeah, and we talked about with the exchange in top lane before. I do like the Aegis now onto Spooks as well. Going to go in for more of that utility. Get a little bit tanky, very cost efficient there on that one, but of course great against Morgana Rumble with all of that AoE. Chiefs still working on some more turrets here. Do have 3 right now, but Rady going to look for the 4th and should get it.
Yeah, we see a trade off the screen in the top lane. As you can see, another flashing health bar for Perfection. He cannot stand up to all the pressure that Aurelia is putting out, and now she's starting to build defensively. Going to be that much more durable in fights.
Yeah, that's the really scary part for Aurelia. It's not just the Trinity Force. That's when the bad news starts sometimes, but now with Merc Tread and Spectre Scale, Perfection just cannot afford to be in that lane.
And in this long lane, you know, if he tries to walk up to the minion wave when it's pushed, you know, beyond where his outer turret would have been, he'll just be ganked, especially with Swiffer with the global pressure. So there's not really many ways for someone to safely farm in that top lane.
And that's one of the nice things about Chiefs as well. They've started to get that aggressive vision down now as well. Actually off screen, yeah, Soul Strikes, they're going to clean out the pink ward. Chiefs going to lose a little bit of their vision, but we talked about it with Spooks in his sidestone vision control. Once Chiefs start to get wards in your jungle, things go from bad to worse.
Yeah, the synergy across the map here from the Chiefs comp is actually really impressive, because if you consider it, they've made a lot of effort to take these outer turrets. It makes sense. When you have a Corki comp, you're usually about grouping and picking up those outer turrets. It hasn't actually been the grouping, it's just been the brute force ganking. But what it means is that anybody farming even a little bit overextended from the base is a potential target of that Destiny. There's so much space across the maps for people that when they try and pick up farm when it's pushed out, it could be a Twisted Fate gank at any point. Yeah, and that's the problem here for Dive. So they can't afford to run out like this, and the Chiefs just keep getting stronger and stronger. The gold lead's growing actually pretty substantial, about 6,500 gold at this point. Swiffer just being like, do want to go there? Not too sure, but he's got plenty of damage wherever he wants to go. Got a Sheen now, looking for a Lich Bane and Soul Strikes. Better run here. Swiffer going to pop the gold card there. Good flash over the wall, and Swiper can't follow. I mean, the damage is the order of business across the board. It's actually the Infinity Edge pickup from Radia, not going with the Bloodthirster, the more controlled choice. And speaking of damage, here comes Swiffer. Yeah, Swiffer going in, Perfection in trouble. That's so much damage onto that Rumble. Swiper going to join in the party. Soul Strikes here as well. A good zone is there for Perfection. Points the flame spin in the right way, but Spooks moving in again. Swiffer gets the first kill. There's the next going to Aurelia. Radia here just be like, hey guys, what's going on? And it's a push in the top lane now for Chiefs. And you can see the power of the double mobility summons. Just gets his flash up now, but when you can pop that Ghost and get the second gold card when you're doing as much burst damage as Swiffer is doing, it's very hard in these long lanes. He's got no turret to retreat to, and he's getting picked off every time he pokes his head out. And I like this play from King, realizing that his teams are quite a bit behind. Going to try and solo take the Dragon. Callista, we keep harping on about it. So good at soloing up big objectives, but King can't stay there for too much longer and has to give it up. So we finally check in on what Spooks did with his triple kill earlier. And the Snowball Locket here is so important against the double magic damage AoE the frontline fighting between Rumble and Morgana largely going to be negated by that big purchase.
Yeah, and Rek'Sai, you could hear it, did pop the ulti, but wasn't able to get away the Dragon. That one is owned by the Chiefs there, so 2-1 in favor of the Chiefs for that Dragon, and things, like you mentioned, keep getting better. Swiffer goes back, gets an Aetherwisp, the Lich Bane not far off now, and unfortunately for Sharp in that mid lane, only just now finishing his Zhonya's.
And look, the game's never over when you have a Kalista in your back pocket. Kalista's starting to get the farm and doesn't have a bloodthirst yet, about 400 gold away from that purchase. You can say, you look down the Chiefs line and say, okay, they don't have any armor built right now, but you know that eventually Swiper and Spooks will rotate into that. But there is this kind of small window where if they misplay a fight where the AoE does stick from Perfection and Sharp, there still is the cleanup potential coming from King.
I mean, I like that thought, but Chiefs have built to circumvent as much of the AoE as possible with what's coming through. I mean, Aurelia is basically purely building for magic damage. The Locket there already kind of being snowballed for Spooks. And, you know, King, if he could get in these, even in just a normal 5v5, would shred through people, but he just doesn't have the damage yet.
And there's so much dive that he's really at risk. Maybe that's why they're committing to the split push. We haven't seen King grouping with his team, because if he gets assassinated in a fight, it's just going to be the same flavor of the skirmishes we've been seeing across the map.
Yeah, and Swift has got his Lich Bane online now as well, so unbelievable damage coming out. And unfortunately, no real tanks here in the Dives lineup. That's one of the issues with this lineup when you just play a single tanker. For Rek'Sai right now, just a semi-tank at this point, does have a couple items here or there, but the snowball has been very real here for the Chiefs, and they continue to try and strangle out Vision.
Yeah, the burst coming through from Radio on this Corki. Usually it's the Warmogs and the health stacking that really outscales the burst damage coming out from a Corki, but nothing to speak of in the defensive health options, at least, from Direwolves.
And you know, Chiefs aren't even going to play it unsafely here and try and go for a 4v4 or 5v5. They're split pushing here. Swiper's in the top. Swiffer with the Lich Bane going to chunk out the towers, as you can see there. And Chiefs don't even mind. They're going to make sure Direwolves can never even get the group fight they want.
Well, I mean, Swiper's pushing in the top lane. We already know that Perfection can't stand up to him, so the teleport's kind of useless there as a summoner spell for the Direwolves. The only real strategy open to Direwolves in this game is to delay and have King farm in the side lanes. So if you go for this split push, you take over the enemy jungle Vision. If you stop Kalista from ever getting to the point where her items are relevant in a fight, there's just no win conditions left for the Direwolves.
And I think that does note something quite important here, is that the Chiefs, they don't scale poorly, but they do have to close out the game relatively quickly from this point. You know, they're on somewhat of a timing here. Twisted Fate, especially with this build, kind of needs to, you know, snowball the game and take out structures, because he's not going for big late game damage or big team fighting with the Zhonya's. He's going to take out people and structures.
And viewers might think, okay, but I mean, Morgana doesn't scale very well in terms of damage in the late game, but if she stacks up that AP, we've already seen that Kalista can do all the heavy lifting herself. There's a reason that you can go for, say, the Lulu mid or the Morgana mid when you're running the Kalista, because in the late game, it's all about getting as much AoE down as possible and then Kalista doing the rest of the work. So there is still a timer. Kalista is that strong that if she's set up in the late game, she has those 5-6 damage items, anything's possible.
Yeah, so we'll have to see what does happen here, but Chiefs aggressively pushing in towards the mid now as well. It's 8,500 gold in the lead here, and Chiefs might even be sitting on a decent amount of gold. I feel like I haven't seen Swiper shot for about 15 minutes, but he's just sticking in the top lane. Does have almost 2,000 gold there stacked up in his back pocket. In fact, most of the Chiefs have more than 1,000, and they're still pushing relentlessly.
I mean, there's no pressure to shot because Direwolves just aren't looking for a team fight. They're happy to play defensive. They're trying to buy time for King to build up these items, but buy up enough time comes through. Every Lich Bane order is chunking down turrets.
Yeah, and the other thing is that King can't approach those towers, because if Swiffer just lets the card swing by and a gold one swings through, he's going to die very quickly.
And Swiper's trying to get damage on, and there comes the ultimate.
Yeah, actually going to go into Perfection, going to get dive, does ulti once again, doesn't have the Zhonya's, doesn't use it, it looks like, and Swiffer just picks up the kill.
He died during the stun duration, could not activate the Zhonya's, and the split push is just going to continue across the map.
Well, what a brilliantly executed gank there by Swiffer and Swiper. That's happened multiple times already this game, and that's maybe even freed up Spooks for the bottom side of the map. Unfortunately, Chiefs are going to actually use this time to shop. Dragon's up in a minute 50. Corki will get the back cancelled there by Sharp, but everyone going to back off here. Baron might be what they want, and Dragon's going to follow swiftly after.
Yeah, I mean, the Alacrity boots pick up. You can tell what King's thinking. He's really worried about the strong gap close coming through from the Chiefs. And if he's playing on the back foot, it's going to be so hard for them to win a fight, as every time Perfection's kind of poked his head out, he's been assassinating this top lane. 7 deaths already.
Yeah, and we talk about, you know, maybe one of the big win conditions here for Direwolves being their AD carry King, who's looked so strong in the first week of the OPL. Chiefs aren't having any of that now. Swiper's almost done with his Frozen Heart, and Spooks is well on the way to a Randuin's Omen.
Now, they're able to go to the Baron here. There's no real way for Direwolves to pressure this objective. Because remember that even if Perfection is pushed up to where he is on the minimap, how many times has he been ganked in this position? They never had a situation where they could even walk towards the Baron to get down vision, and it's an uncontested Baron.
I mean, the last place Perfection got ganked is actually going to be right here. Swiffer, sorry, does go in there. Good zone is open Perfection to keep him alive, and didn't get killed that time, but the last place he died was at his inhib turret.
Yeah, there's no safe place as Perfection on the map. He's been singled out so many times. There should be a big sign up saying time since last top gank, because they've come in so thick and fast.
Well, yeah, as you said, it's been quite a lot of them here as Direwolves is going to group up towards the top, try and shove the Chiefs out, but the Baron minions are now in effect. Dragon back in 30 seconds now as well. The entire map belongs to Chiefs right now, and Direwolves, all they can do is sit and watch and hope they can make it to some sort of late game. Spooks actually, just off screen, does get caught, but he'll run away, and Chiefs, no care in the world. It's going to clear out some pink wards.
Sharp actually committed to using the Soul Shackles there, so it's on cooldown. Another option removed for Direwolves. They've never had that grouped up fight, the dream of the Soul Shackles stun into the Equalizer, with the lockup being picked up, with all the magic resist being stacked by Aurelia. That dream, it's looking more like a nightmare. I don't see how Direwolves can win a fight, barring some incredible heroics from Kalista.
Yeah, and Direwolves, despite having vision of this dragon, just can't do anything about it. Corki and even Annie just shredding through it there with Spooks helping out. The third dragon there for even more rotational power. Movement speed online now for the Chiefs.
And the mid game has been so strong from the Chiefs. They understand their power spikes. Twisted Fate, the Swift's Twisted Fate has been wonderful here. 11 kills out of 16 participated in. But what it's actually gotten them is it's gotten that last Baron. It's all the pressure they put across the map means that vision has always been very poor coming out from Direwolves, because every time someone pokes their head out about halfway down their lane, they're getting ganked.
Yeah, and this is what Twisted Fate does when he gets ahead. We mentioned it in the draft when we saw the pick come through. Chiefs are either going to go big or go home with this sort of pick, and right now they're going really big.
Yeah, it's oppressive the amount of vision they're controlling, at least. And the thing is, some of that vision is controlled through pink wards and green wards, and some of that vision is controlled through the enemy mind games, the lack of security and being able to move anywhere outside your base. They're giving up resources left and right, and that's why the gold is going to 13,000, the advantage for the Chiefs.
Yeah, there's no vision quite like implied pressure, Papa Smithy. As the Baroned up minions going to help in towards the mid lane now. We already saw Corki with a couple of Trinity Force orders getting pretty heavy there as well. And that was protected for a while. Swiper just casually going to pop his ulti there, and Chiefs are going to clear it out. Swiffer just eats that tower with the Lich Bane, and Direwolves have very few structures left to defend.
I was under the impression they'd nerfed Lich Bane at some point, but Twisted Fate, he doesn't have any cares in the world pushing out these towers, training them down with all the AP stacked up.
Yeah, 32 minutes here. Swiffer is 5,000 gold ahead of Sharp, and some of that is the Twisted Fate passive, and some of that's just very good gameplay.
And when you see the Mundos of the world, sometimes you say, all right, the game can be played around Mundo. The reason Morgana fell away is that the mid lane has always played around Morgana, because there's so few times she can actually be aggressive and get those solo kills in the mid. She's so binary. You avoid that Dark Binding, you can be so confident that you'll live, especially when your flash is up. And that's why it opens up these playmaking champions like Twisted Fate. If you know your mechanics, you know your limits, you know Morgana's ranges, you can just kind of farm happily, show up on the other sides of the map, and haven't even been able to counter push and get this mid turret. Remember, the mid turret is still up at 32 minutes for Chiefs.
In fact, all of the turrets are still up here for Chiefs. It's 6-0 in that matchup with 16-7 and kills and an unbelievable amount of gold up for the Chiefs, about 15k or so. And they just have an unbelievable lead. Direwolves just have to hunker down like they've been doing for the last 10-15 minutes and hope something happens. But Swiffer just eating turrets.
I mean, hunker down. I mean, what are they waiting for? They're not getting any minion press. They're not getting any CS, but they might get Chief
Good
Swiffer.
Ulti there as well, but Swiffer does right. The gold cup perfection gets destroyed there as Spooks and Swiper dive in, and now Swiffer going to go in towards the back. Chopper very low already. Swiffer going into the backlands, wants to find King, but Swiffer's popped his on. His tower goes down there, ready, able to take it out. Soulstrike in trouble as he goes out there as well. That's 3-0, and the Chiefs here are just going to walk all over Direwolves' base.
Yeah, Swiffer went so aggressively, could not get the quick assassination King, but he falls anyway. Fate's Call still available, and the Chiefs should be able to round out this game here.
Yeah, one Messiah later there with the Zonyas by Swiffer, and that's all it really took. Their towers melting like they've been all game long, basically, since the Lich Bane got picked up here. Raider even went for 3 big damage. Didn't even want to last Swiffer, just going to shred through these, and Sharp, nothing really left for him. Who's going to get the kill? That's maybe what Chiefs are thinking here. In fact, Chiefs just going to play it out, make sure the Nexus goes down. Radiant flashes out of the last few Zenith blades, and Chiefs undefeated now after 2 weeks, 4-0.
Chiefs, the king of the Sheen proc. Between the double Trinity Force and the Lich Bane damage coming in, no structure could stand up to them. They didn't even lose a structure worth noting. You mentioned that and then 0 turrets for Direwolves. They were just completely outpowered that game. It was a very powerful performance coming through from the Chiefs.
Yeah, and it's very sink or swim with a Twisted Fate comp, but Chiefs swam basically all around the ocean and back here to Australia.
Yeah, they forced the Direwolves to swim upstream the whole game. The Destinies came through. Let's watch a replay to really see what we could have expected from the Chiefs. This is much earlier in the game. Of course, the kill score is even at this point. The gold also fairly even, but we'll roll the tape right here. And so we track the fight. King has been forced to move back, but it's Spooks getting the assassination kill in the bottom lane. And this starts a very long, drawn-out fight. Soul Strikes gets caught as well. The power spikes were already starting there for the Chiefs. And that was the moment where the game kind of warped. It's when they started to get the oppressive Spooks movement, and that's without even the Destiny to show for it. And Perfection, he was the one that really ate the most of that aggression. We've talked about how much he stepped up. This was the battle of the two top laners. That's awkward to say. The two top laners in the Oceanic region. And Perfection, he got ran over by both Spooks, Swift Swiper, and the whole team.
I mean, yeah, not fair to call that a 1v1 there, because basically all of the Chiefs were in poor Perfection's lane for most of it there. Just, again, a great performance with the Twisted Fate.
Definitely.
All right, really strong start, but don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back after a quick break. It is